Hey, folks, holiday season upon us. It is the shopping season, and it's very difficult how sometimes it's always the hardest to buy presents for people who are the closest to us, the people that we love. And fortunately for you, I've got a great idea that is perfect for everyone that you care about in your family or out, an Aura digital picture frame. It's named #1 by Wirecutter. Aura frames make it incredibly easy to share unlimited photos and videos directly from your phone to the frame. And when you give an Aura frame as a gift, this is what's amazing about it. When they pull it out of the box, it will already have the pictures that you have placed on there via your app. It could be pictures, also could be videos for that matter. Totally preloaded with a thoughtful message. And makes an ideal present for loved ones that are far away from you. And also, obviously, people who don't see your kids often, don't see you often, don't see your cat or your dog often, your aunts, your uncles. It is honestly really sort of the be-all, give-all gift, if you will, works for everybody. Who doesn't want to see you? And if they don't want to see you, do they really deserve a gift? No. Save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com. You get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames by using the promo code majority at checkout. That's Aura, A-U-R-A, frames.com, promo code majority. This deal is exclusive to Majority Report listeners, so get yours now in time for the holidays. Terms and conditions apply. But again, I'm telling you, if your folks or your whoever you're giving this to are tech, there's a tech deficit, fantastic gift for them. Comes completely set up. All they can do is plug it into the wall. That link will be in the podcast and YouTube description. Also, today's another sponsor for today has made I don't want to cry. I don't want to break up on during this. A very a positive impact on somebody who's very important in my household. I am talking about our cat Leo, who is sadly terminal. Oh. This is not exactly the most uplifting thing, but he has been struggling a little bit with appetite, and Smalls has been huge in terms of he loves it. And now, I'm in that zone where it's I'll feed him 5 times a day. I don't care.
Right.
And he loves it. Smalls was started back in 2017 by a couple of guys who were home cooking cat food in small batches for their friends. And a few years later, they've served millions of meals to cats across the U.S. And here's the thing, Smalls is cat food that is packed with protein. It is made with preservative-free ingredients that you'd find in your fridge. It's delivered right to your door. Veterinarians.org rates Smalls 10 out of 10 for ingredient quality. And, some of you may be asking, well, what's wrong with the little kibble that I've been feeding my cats? Well, your cats need fresh, protein-packed meals to be at their best. And other cat food brands know this, but they want to make a buck and save on putting in, frankly, more expensive, fresher, more pure ingredients. So they'll dump in mysterious meat byproducts. They'll have artificial flavoring and preservatives with names that none of us here could pronounce. And if that sounds gross, imagine having to eat it every day. After making the switch to Smalls, 88% of cat owners reported overall health improvements. That's a big deal. Team at Smalls is so confident your cat's going to love their product, you can try it risk-free. That means they're going to refund you if your cat won't eat their food. And I would love to meet the cat that won't eat this. Now is the time to make the switch to Smalls. Head to smalls.com/majority. Use the promo code majority at checkout. You get 50% off your first order plus free shipping. That's the best offer you're going to find. But you have to use our code majority for 50% off your first order. One last time, that's promo code majority, 50% off your first order plus free shipping at smalls.com/majority. Link in the podcast and YouTube description and at the majority.fm. Now time for the show.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Wednesday, December 4th, 2024. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Pete Hegseth turning into Trump's next biggest F-up. South Korea President Yoon's martial law lasts 6 hours as South Korean society issues a hard no. Meanwhile, the largest labor union in South Korea has gone on strike until he resigns. Supreme Court to hear oral arguments on that skirmish case, pivotal to trans rights. Spoke to Ian Millhiser about it yesterday. The results, the final results of the congressional races across the country are in. Final numbers, 2020 Republicans to 2015 Democrats. That's Gray officially defeats Duarte, flipping California 45th district. But reminder, 3 of those 2020 will not be seated at the beginning of this term. We'll talk more on that in a moment. Trump names a billionaire hedge funder with many defense contracts to become number 2 in the Department of Defense.
Anti-war, anti-war, anti-war.
Not just anti-war. I mean, what about Doge? I guess that'll increase efficiency, right? Because that way they won't have to bid anything.
Profits.
Jewish settlers wage a pogrom on West Bank Palestinians overnight. Republicans decry deficit, but plan for more tax cuts. Math. AOC may run for oversight chair if Raskin's successful in his bid for judiciary.
Please.
Mitch McConnell whines over judges not retiring, if you can believe it. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining us.
It's Hump Day.
It is Hump Day. Emma Vigeland here to maintain her licensing contractual obligations, yes, and her licensing control over the term that she phrased.
It's the only reason she's here today.
Yep. So we got a lot to get to today, but it does seem like Pete Hegseth, and yesterday we talked about, now where did I have that? I had the quote from his mom.
I can find that easily because the New York Times published it. The New York Times published an email that his mother sent to him. Presumably his ex-wife leaked that email.
We
I
know
think, to the New York Times.
that the ex-wife was CC'd on it, and we actually read it yesterday. So, but let's check this out. Here is Pete Hegseth this morning, as the headlines this morning in a couple of major newspapers and outlets say, Trump is considering Ron DeSantis as a replacement for Pete Hegseth.
He's trying to Mitt Romney the situation.
100%.
Getting a guy that he defeated and humiliated to come to heel. And you know what's going to happen? He's going to publicly float Ron DeSantis for defense secretary. And there is, I'm saying this now, 0% chance that he follows through on that.
Well, I wouldn't
Actually,
get.
no, wait,
Matt's
no.
like, wait a second, is Emma back?
No. Okay, I'm
Back
sorry.
to the old me.
I immediately am back. I'm that Bugs Bunny meme. Back to the old me, making predictions. No, not 0% chance.
5%.
5%. I'm basically trying to say that, like, my guess is that he's trying to humiliate Ron DeSantis with this.
I mean, let's be clear. It's probably a situation where it's like, this is a twofer for me. I'm mad at Pete because he's causing me problems, and I still hate Ron. Little Ron. But here is Pete Hegseth. And this was, when did he do this? When did he tweet this out? This was, he wrote, this was
morning.
this morning, 7:42 a.m. I'm doing this for the war fighters, not the warmongers.
Can you remind me of Trump's latest appointment that you just headlined? Defense lobbyist?
Well, I mean, Marco Rubio is by
Iraq
without
war
a
hawk.
doubt.
Yeah.
Okay. You're doing this for the war fighters, not the warmongers. And he said, and he writes, the left is afraid of disruptors and change agents. They are afraid of real Donald Trump and me. So they smear with fake anonymous sources and BS stories. They don't want truth. Our warriors never back down, and neither will I. Now, a couple of things. Let's leave this up here if we can. Let's just go through this because this is a very intricate tweet. I'm doing this for the war fighters, not the warmongers. What was it he was chanting when he gets drunk? Like death to all Muslims or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right. I guess that's not, I don't know if that constitutes warmongering. Maybe it's just, aspirational for him. The left is afraid of disruptors and change agents. Let me tell you how much ability the left has to keep Pete Hegseth from taking that seat. Like actual power. 0. That is not a prediction. That is just simply a fact. There's nobody on the, I mean, to the extent that you want to say that anybody in the Senate, in the incoming Senate is a leftist, and if people can, you can have your own arguments about that. There is still 0 ability.
What if I say Pete Hegseth's ex-wife is a leftist?
Or his mother, for that matter.
Well, that's the other thing. They smear with fake anonymous sources and BS stories. Let's play this clip. This is clip number 3. And apparently one of those fake stories was written by Pete Hegseth's mom.
Back in 2018. So, I mean, God, AI must have been really advanced back then, right?
Well, I don't think she's denied that she sent it, and she CC'd it to Pete Hegseth. Let me see if I can get this right. Second wife that he cheated on.
Got a Fox News employee pregnant. I think that's what was the who's now his third wife, but that's why his mother sent that email saying that he was a abuser of women. And
let's be clear, there is every reason to believe that in this instance, when he impregnated that third woman, that it was consensual.
Yes.
There is no reason, and I think that you have to be clear about that when it comes to Hegseth. There is no reason to believe that his relationship with his third wife started in any other way other than consensual. Now, that doesn't mean that it was. It just means that there's no reason to believe it, like in other circumstances.
Right. No police report this time.
Right. And so here is Pete Hegseth's mom, Penelope Hegseth. And sometimes, like, you think your son's a loser, your son's a scumbag, and then, well, down the road, he gets appointed to a position you never thought in a million years, and then you have to sort of, flip on that.
Pete's mother, Penelope Hegseth, joins us live on the set to tell us what she wanted to tell us. You called us yesterday and you said you wanted to come on.
I did. I said I would do anything for my son.
I completely get this. You never in a million years thought you would be doing this.
No.
Because you didn't realize that this email you wrote in 2018 somebody leaked it to the New York Times.
Correct.
And they printed it.
Correct.
I'm going to read part of it. You say, this is to Pete during the 2018 divorce. You say, I have no respect for any man that belittles, lies, cheats, and sleeps around. And you go on and say, you are that man and have been for years. And as your mother, it pains me and embarrasses me to say that, but it is a sad, sad truth. You say,
I'm sorry.
Well, wait a second. Wait a second. He skipped over some of the best parts of that email.
First of all, I've got to say, they do a one-on-one with Ducey and her on Fox and Friends. That's got to be the first time I've seen that, right? No Kilmeade, no Ainsley.
Oh no, they do this sometimes.
But I think it does seem clear that he's the most respectable and gentle of that group. So they're doing a one-on-one thing.
Well, also, to be fair, I mean, we don't know what Ducey thought of his son, and then that may have, he had to, flip that around.
But this is Hegseth's former employer / current. I mean, he's been a Fox and Friends weekend host up to this period. So,
it's a good point, because she's going to say, look at who my son was years ago when he was working at your channel.
So this is a situation in which this woman, his mother, who wrote this email calling him an abuser of women, which Ducey leaves out that part, at least for right now.
The abridged version.
She is going on television at the place where he works, and presumably will work again if he is forced to withdraw, to basically run cover for him because he's about to be potentially one of the most powerful people in the country.
Well, he's going to be running one of the world's largest entity, but I just feel bad because Ducey is not reminding Mom of all the good parts in the email. It's time for someone, I wish it were a strong man, okay, to stand up to your abusive behavior and call it out, especially against women, she wrote. We still love you, but we are broken by your behavior and lack of character. If the email damages our relationship further, she added, so be it. Okay. Son, I have tried to keep quiet about your character and behavior, but after listening to the way you made Samantha feel today, I cannot stay silent. So this has been an ongoing thing for her over through 2018. And she just got fed up. What was the other part that Ducey must have mistakenly skipped over? Truncated. Where was the rest of that? It was
maybe the context of the fact that
here it is. On behalf of all the women, and I know it's many you have abused in some way, I say get some help and take an honest look at yourself. I have no respect for any man that belittles, lies, cheats, sleeps around, and uses women for his own power and ego. You are that man and have been for years. And as your mother, it pains me and embarrasses me to say that, but it's the sad, sad truth. All right, let's just go back and see if Ducey gets this all right.
Correct.
And they printed it. I'm going to read part of it. You say, this is to Pete during the 2018 divorce. You say, I have no respect for any man that belittles, lies, cheats, and sleeps around. And you go on and say, you are that man and have been for years. And as your mother, it pains me and embarrasses me to say that, but it is a sad, sad truth. You say, we still love you, but we are broken by your behavior and your lack of character. Mm-hmm. When you wrote that,
brazen.
What's the backstory? What was going on that made you so angry you wanted to write that?
Well, I will tell that story in a moment, but let me make two statements first, and one is to President Trump. And I want to say thank you for your belief in my son. We all believe in him. We really believe that he is not that man he was 7 years ago. I'm not that mother. And I hope people will hear that story today and the truth of that story. So the other thing I want to say is I am here to tell the truth. To tell the truth to the American people and tell the truth to the senators on the Hill, especially our female senators. I really hope that you will not listen to the media and that you will listen to Pete.
Well, and you're here to tell us, because you are in the news now, So why did you write that email in 2018?
Right. Well, what was going on? Right. Let's go back 7 years.
Pause it. Like 1 second. Let me just explain. First off, I think it's pretty obvious I'm a woman. So therefore, I'm unstable. And therefore, I wrote the email. Well, like, who wants to take a guess on like what she's going to say here? I was so distraught. I had no idea what I was doing. I was completely out of control. Pete was always right about me.
I don't know where those thoughts came from that I put on that email.
Yeah, it's so strange. For so long, I was so deluded about Pete, and he had a miraculous turnaround. In fact, here's his ex-wife that, she didn't show up? That's weird.
Control F
Wonder
on
where that
letter.
email. Yeah.
Control F is abuse or abuser is said 4 times, not read once by Ducey, because this isn't a case of just philandering, which is what they're trying to pass this off as. There's a police report in another instance, and then in this instance, he said the email basically alleges that he impregnated another woman and then put the blame on his wife.
Alludes to like gaslighting sort of behavior and stuff like that.
Let's see what she says.
If we all went back 7 years, we would see that maybe we were not the people we are today. But
pause it for a second. I'm trying to think. 2018. Now, to be fair, I'm old. Maybe not as old as her. I don't know. We may be the same age. No. Yeah. Maybe somewhere. She's probably only a couple years older than me. And I can tell you that 7 years ago, I guess I didn't have as much gray in my head. But we're not,
through line.
It's like, it's one thing if you say like, who amongst us cannot look back 25 years ago and say we were a different person? I feel like you could get away with that, but 7 years?
At no point in my life did my mother call me an abuser of women.
Oh, also, actually,
all right, stop bragging.
This might be a good opportunity to just pull up this tear sheet, and we'll get back to this from NBC News. Pete Hegseth's drinking worried colleagues at Fox News, sources tell NBC.
Do you know how much you have to drink to worry people at Fox News? They have Janine Pirro on staff.
Yeah, exactly. He came, when he showed up there, Larry Kudlow showed up very shortly after that. But the point being that one of the sources said, if you could scroll down just a couple of sentences. Here it is. Here we go. 2 of those people said on more than a dozen occasions during his time as co-host on Fox and Friends weekends. Now, incidentally, because the show's on weekends, you should know that there's only probably about like 40, 5 of these shows a year that he's on. Right? I mean, so
there's only so many weekends.
If it's more than a dozen occasions, like how many times are you close enough to someone to smell booze? And then, so one quarter of the time.
300?
Incidentally, Fox and Friends weekend, this is not an evening show.
No.
Just FYI.
Morning.
And now, look, I know an extraordinary amount of my friends are either active or recovered alcoholics. It came from the comedy world. And so that was, that happened. So I have I hope he gets help. But I also don't think he should necessarily be in charge of something like this, or maybe he should. I don't know. People can decide. But one of the sources said they smelled alcohol on him as recently as last month and heard him complain about being hungover this fall.
Think back to a month ago, and I think we can all agree we're different people.
Yes. Who amongst us can say that we were the same as we were 30 days ago? Now, in this case, it's actually true because we had the election somewhere in there. But all right, go back. I want to hear more from his mom. Sorry. And this is so I just want to say, it's not just maybe 7 years ago he was a different person, but also a month ago he didn't seem to be too different. Now, maybe it's possible he stopped being abusive to women and just continued to day drink throughout the entire time.
I'd take that as an improvement.
Without a doubt. I would say, based upon my experience, it is highly unlikely that if he was so abusive to women that his mother basically said, I want to disown you. You disgust me so much. You're a scumbag. it's unlikely, unless he addressed his drinking issues, he had the opportunity to emotionally work through why he was so abusive to women. This is assuming, and I don't think it's for the sake of argument, but in real world, I wouldn't assume this, that the charges of him roofing and raping a woman are, untrue, that he's just, abusive in other ways. I find it hard to believe that he was able to wrestle with those emotional issues over the course of the 7 years if he's still day drinking. But, all right, let's hear what she says.
As you are in the news now. So why did you write that email in 2018?
Right. Well, what was going on? Right. Let's go back 7 years, which if we all went back 7 years, we would see that maybe we were not the people we are today. But they were going through, Pete and his wife at the time were going through a very difficult divorce. It was a very emotional time, and I'm sure many of you across the country understand how difficult divorce is on a family. There's emotions.
Pause it. I'll just say, and you don't have to, you can keep her up there. I can just say, as someone who did go through a divorce, actually 7 years ago, right around the same time, I can tell you that I never received an email from my mom or even my ex-wife's mom saying that you are abusive towards women.
Yeah, and my parents got divorced. Basically, the families take usually the side of their child or their blood relative. Well, this is fairly atypical for the mother to take the side of the ex-wife and go as far as to say that her son is being abusive.
And so maybe if that email got retracted later on, maybe that's why people are like, hey, this is a problem. There's litigation. Maybe you want to, pull it. Well, let's just let her.
Things, and I wrote that in haste. I wrote that with deep emotions. I wrote that as a parent, and about 2 hours later, I should. My husband tells me I should think through things a little bit more, but Pete and I are both very passionate.
In fact, my husband smacked me around a little bit. See, the point of everything I should do. Yes, of course. What happened was, mom or wife. Do you realize this is going to be used in court against Pete? Do you realize, how many court cases do you think Pete has to go through in his life?
God, she must have been hysterical. Really, the true person who was the bad actor in all of this is Penelope here for not listening to her husband.
She was emotional.
Saying as a mother, I wrote that. Yeah, that's why it's damning, because usually as a mother, you take the side of your son.
Well, at the very least, you give them the benefit of the doubt.
I wrote that with deep emotions. I wrote that as a parent, and about 2 hours later, I should. My husband tells me I should think through things a little bit more.
I'm a ditz.
But Pete and I are both very passionate people. I wrote that out of love.
Pete.
And about 2 hours later.
Pete and I are both passionate. For instance, I will write emails in haste, and Pete will be abusive to women. We're both passionate.
I feel for this woman. If you want to see what internalized misogyny looks like, I mean, listen to how she speaks. It's.
My husband told me I need to think through things. This is
why white women voted for Trump.
Passionate people. I wrote that out of love. And about 2 hours later, I retracted it with an apology.
When I realized
email,
I didn't,
but nobody's seen that. So it was a difficult time. I want to say something about the media, and part of today is to discredit the media and how they operate. When they contact you, I let a few phone calls go, but then they call you and say they threaten you. That's the first thing they do. Right. They say, unless you make a statement, we will publish it as is. And I think that's a despicable way.
Can you pause it?
What?
They asked her for comment. Yeah. They got the email from somebody else. The New York Times reached out to her to say, hey, this is standard journalistic practice. They said, we're going to publish this. Would you like to comment on it? And she's saying that's a threat. No, okay. That's every journalist ever does that.
Now, I just want to be fair to her.
Yeah.
She said the media was acting despicably. But 2 hours later, she wrote back and said, I apologize. Yeah. So Pete Hegseth may be in a bit of trouble here. And if this doesn't do it, then I suspect this will do it. This was Pete Hegseth. This is the
K file. Andrew Kaczynski of the K file.
Right. This is number 1, right?
Yeah.
Yes, this is, yep, exactly.
Okay.
This is particularly crucial when it comes to what role Trump is going to play in forcing this nomination, that Hegseth had a history of criticizing Trump. What did you find there?
Yeah, he was harshly critical of Trump in the 2016 Republican primary for lacking national security experience. He mocked Trump for relying on the cable news for military advice. He attacked Trump for opposing the Iraq war. He attacked Trump for saying the U.S. shouldn't have gone into Afghanistan, and then Trump reversed himself on that. Then he attacked Trump for flip-flopping.
Pause it for a second. It sounds like Hegseth was a warmonger.
Right. He criticized Donald Trump for criticizing the Iraq war, which, by the way, I will say, I think did play a part in him winning that Republican primary
100%.
by going after Jeb Bush in that way. And it's why the Democrats' Cheney embrace is just so infuriating. But like, he just tweeted, we just showed it, Hegseth saying the warmongers on the left are coming after me. You were criticizing the guy that's nominating you to be defense secretary just a few years ago about his stance on opposing the Iraq war.
Prem Talker over at Zeteo did a read of his books, and he's actually, it turns out, a warmonger in those books as well.
Supports waterboarding, torture, yep.
Trump reversed himself on that. Then he attacked Trump for flip-flopping. He really was arguing, and this sort of goes against, at the time at least, that the whole America First idea. He really argued that Donald Trump was not hawkish enough on the military. Listen to him here.
You wouldn't want a top-tier presidential candidate getting all of their military advice from watching Meet the Press. There's a lot more nuance. There's a lot more detail.
Don't take him down. You want your top tier, you want your actual president to get his advice from Fox and Friends, not Meet the Press, is what he meant to say.
Is that a tan suit? He must hate America.
Military advice from watching Meet the Press. There's a lot more nuance. There's a lot more detail. Foreign policy and national security is not about TV shows. They're going to have to walk back a little bit from this idea that he gets it from the political shows.
Oh, boy.
And look, that's not the only criticism we found. Some of them were deeply personal on Donald Trump. He even attacked him as a, quote, armchair tough guy. That was his quote. And
oh, boy.
Armchair tough guy.
Armchair tough guy.
We'll show you who's tough.
Well, my prediction is Pete Hegseth is probably gone by... It's Wednesday noon now. I'll say he's going to be gone within a day, if that long. But here he is, armchair tough guy.
I hate to say it, but this is a guy who said that John McCain
Emma's right. It's not going to be. It's not going to be
military deferment.
It's not going to be DeSantis. DeSantis is going to. Why don't you fly to Washington? Oh, I couldn't make the meeting. I'm sorry.
Right.
Ron, maybe next time you should have been a little bit nicer to me. Go ahead.
But it's typical Trump. All bluster, very little substance. He talks a tough game. But then when pressed on it, he's an armchair tough guy. I hate to say it. But this is a guy who said that John McCain is not a war hero, yet he sought his own 5 military deferments.
Eek.
Gosh.
So yeah, Penelope, it's not really about that. I gotta be honest with you.
Yeah, the whole rape thing was kind of a plus for me.
Going to say that was in the pros column. The cons column is different, but
say less.
We shall see. Pete Hegseth. And here's the thing. Coincidentally, the incoming Trump administration has decided to greenlight FBI background checks for incoming staff. In other words, maybe
done that the first
we
time.
Needed a little bit of vetting. I don't know. Next time we need to know if he's criticized me.
He looked the part, okay? He's got that Aryan thing I like.
We got more to talk about, but first, a couple words from our sponsors. When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, ones like Allbirds or Skims, I guess,
What's the other one they have on there? That
Allo?
Allo. I have all three of those, and I do think it is because Shopify made it so easy. I'm like, I'm not second guessing this. I'm just gonna buy.
All right.
I just got something from Allo the other day.
I don't even know what that is. What is Allo?
It's like a workout gear, like workout outfits and loungewear.
All right. Well, so you think about a great product, cool brand, brilliant marketing, but the overlooked secret is actually the business behind the business, making selling and shoppers buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. It worked on Emma.
It did.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet, and the not-so-secret secret with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going ka-ching. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. When we did our live show, we were able to integrate the Shopify sales and our merch store. I mean, like, we're not in the business of doing this. It's not our primary business. And so for us, like, we want to make the money, but have it be all turnkey. Mm-hmm. Because it's not like we're making huge money from this. But I don't want to be like, I don't want it to be a deficit because we have to spend so much keeping track of all this. Shopify made it very, very simple. And when we come up with ideas, we pop it up there. Somebody said Emma Majority Report hat. And I think Julie's on that right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate Shopify. We had to get merch ready for TMBS live show, and I like things that you can do in one afternoon and not have to spend multiple days.
Right.
Exactly. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Allbirds and Allo uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/majority. All lowercase. Go to shopify.com/majority. Upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/majority. Also, it is, yesterday was Giving Tuesday. It's the giving season. You may wonder where your donation could have the most impact. Well, in 2007, a group of donors had that exact question. When they sought information that would give them an answer, they couldn't find it. So their experience led them to create GiveWell. It's an organization that provides rigorous, transparent research about the best giving opportunities they've found. GiveWell has now spent over 17 years researching charitable organizations and only directs funding to a few of the highest impact opportunities they've found. Over 100,000 donors have used GiveWell to donate more than $2 billion. I am one of those 100,000 and have been, I think, for, 5 or 6 years. Rigorous evidence suggests these donations are going to save over 200,000 lives and improve the lives of millions more. GiveWell wants as many donors as possible to make informed decisions about high-impact giving. You can find all of their research and recommendations on their site, 100% totally free. And this is what for me is a big deal. You make a tax-deductible donation to their recommended funds or charities, and GiveWell does not take a cut. The Boston Globe called GiveWell the gold standard for giving. Here are some examples of donations that GiveWell recommends. Bed nets to prevent malaria cost $5 to provide one net. Nets can reduce the number of malaria infections. Enough nets and large enough drop in infections save a life in expectation. This is the one that I really appreciate. Cash incentives for routine childhood vaccinations cost $155 to vaccinate an infant. The funding provides cash transfers to incentivize caregivers to bring babies to clinics for routine childhood vaccinations, which prevent disease, reduce child mortality, and then has the knock-on effect of having cash in hand to people living in poverty or sometimes extreme poverty, and they know how to best spend it. So that's that to me is a double doer. But the great thing about GiveWell, you can look, they have logged every single mistake they feel they have made or omission over the past 15 years, 14, 17 years. They have a whole vertical of it. That also I find very impressive. If you've never used GiveWell to donate, you can have your donation matched up to $100 before the end of the year, or as long as those matching funds last. To claim your match, go to givewell.org, pick podcast, enter Majority Report at the checkout. That way they'll know that you heard about GiveWell from the Majority Report, and you will get your donation matched. Again, that's givewell.org to donate or find out more. So Pete Hegseth may be on the outs. His number two that Trump has named is a billionaire hedge funder who, and this is the thing, and we'll talk about this more in a bit, but the whole Doge thing and the whole like cutting the deficit and the debt, it's all bullshit. Republicans never, ever do that. They always explode it. They exploded it under Trump. It wasn't a function of COVID that did it. Those numbers show up in 2021 where the tax revenues go down. It was a function of their huge tax cuts.
And I made the mistake of turning on CNN yesterday, and Aaron Burnett was having somebody on to discuss how innovative Doge can be to cut government waste. But we know that the Pentagon has failed many, many audits, and you know where they won't be cutting? The Pentagon, which, by the way, does deals with Elon Musk with Starlink. So.
President-elect Donald Trump has selected Stephen Feinberg to be his deputy defense secretary. He is a secretive billionaire financier with no experience in the agency into the Pentagon's number 2 job. He had a role on Trump's intelligence advisory board during his first term. He is a major donor to the president-elect. Surprise.
Wow. Drain the swamp.
This is not the ambassadorship, right? And this selection could present some significant conflicts of interest. He is the CEO of private equity firm Cerberus Capital Management, which has investments in military aircraft training and maintenance, holds a majority stake in Navistar Defense, a manufacturer of military vehicles. Through Cerberus, Feinberg this year launched Cerberus Venture One, which is focused in investing in defense technology. Now, imagine you're the number 2 at the Department of Defense.
Mm-hmm.
You have and maybe an unparalleled sway over where the Defense Department will start to procure its stuff or what areas it will move into. And simultaneously, you have a big venture capital fund focused on investing in defense technology. So you can see you're on both ends of the equation. You know, I think we should do X as defense in the Defense Department, and then I think we should we should invest in X as the other guy. There it is.
You know what would be very efficient is if we just funneled all of our defense spending to the companies that would benefit this specific billionaire donor.
Well, listen, you would save so much money in the bidding process.
Yeah.
You'd never have to worry about it.
Efficiency means 1 or 2 people benefit, not the American public.
We'll go to some of the other cuts that they're actually planning to do. You know, the Doge thing is just the shiny coin, because I mentioned this the other day. We'll get to it. But first, we have final House results. In California's 45th district, Gray defeated Duarte by about 200 votes, after the recount. And so there's something significant to be learned here. The Democrats now will have 215 members. The Republicans will have 220.
Right.
Take that 220 number and subtract 3, because we have Gates gone, and we have Stefanik gone, and we have Waltz gone. Now, Waltz and Gates' a special election is going to be April 1st. Stefanik's election will probably be, actually somewhere around there, too. You got to have it, I think it's 90 days in New York.
Also, I just want to say that it was the 13th that Gray won in. 45th is Katie Porter's old district. That's where Tran won, if I
Oh, okay. Yeah, you may be right about that. It could be the 13th. And so it's going to be 2017 to 2015. Remember, 2 of those Republicans are also voted for impeachment.
Mm-hmm.
Had Democrats a couple years ago in 2022 prevented Republicans from getting a majority on the North Carolina Supreme Court. Because right after that, the Republican justices overturned a ruling that had struck down Republican gerrymanders in that state, allowed the Republican legislature in North Carolina redraw their maps and essentially eliminate 3 Democratic North Carolinian seats. So you do the math. -3 from 2020, +3 from 20 to 15. That's 2018 to 2017. That's even before the absences. But now you wouldn't have those absences. Well, maybe you would have. But regardless, this is an important dynamic to keep in mind. Because when you look at like how Democrats performed outside of Harris, relative to Republicans, we're still looking at the closest election ever. This is the closest margin, I think, in the House in decades. But if you don't have that gerrymander in North Carolina, it's a totally different ballgame. And the lesson to be learned here is how important these races are in states that you wouldn't otherwise think are like key states. Now, North Carolina, sort of a swingy state. Obama won it in 2008, but that was the last time a Democrat won it at the top of the ticket. But these are still really, really important races. And that is one thing that Ben Wickler, we announced yesterday that he was jumping into the race. He won a key Wisconsin Supreme Court race back in 2020. And this is a guy who understands the importance of winning these sort of like subterranean races. I spoke to John Nichols, and it's an interview we're going to run on Monday, both about Bernie Sanders' interview that he did, and Wickler, and what's happened in Wisconsin since 2010 and Scott Walker.
Right.
But here's Ben Wickler, part of his announcement.
The soul of the Democratic Party is the fight for working people. Ours is the party that built the middle class, that won breakthroughs on civil rights and women's rights and workers' rights and freedom and opportunity for all. It's the party that welcomed me as a high school student in Wisconsin to volunteer for Tammy Baldwin when she first won a seat in Congress. Today, the country that we love needs the Democratic Party to be stronger, to unite, to fight, and to win. I'm Ben Wickler, the chair of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. I've spent my life working in politics, advocacy, and new media. In Wisconsin, we built a permanent campaign. We organize and communicate year-round in every corner of the state, rural, suburban, urban, red, blue, and purple areas alike. Since I've been our state party chair, we've flipped our state Supreme Court majority, re-elected our great Democratic governor, Tony Evers, and in this very tough year for Democrats nationwide, a 6-point swing towards Trump. We closed that gap to a 1.5, making Wisconsin the closest state in the country. We sent Tammy Baldwin back for a 3rd term in the U.S. Senate, and we flipped 14 state legislative seats that put us on track for majorities in both chambers in 2026. When the polls are within the margin of error, we win by the margin of effort. And what has made a difference in Wisconsin can make a difference everywhere. We need a nationwide permanent campaign, a 50-state strategy in every state and every territory across the United States. That means raising a ton of money and bringing together millions of volunteers.
Ben Wickler is doing an extraordinary job.
You've done a ridiculous job.
Ben Wickler, he knows how to organize.
Wisconsin Democrats have outraised Republicans 4-1 this year.
All right. Well, listen, we didn't see more of the ad, but look, this is going to be voted on by members of the DNC. I think there's like 500 or so members. You can go, is it benwickler.com to help?
He's definitely the best of the candidates right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's a lot to be said for Ken Martin, who is the head of the Minnesota DFL. I'm not as familiar with his work, but I can tell you, like, I I think every job that Ben Wickler has ever had, frankly. Starting, he was a producer for Al Franken at Air America, and then went on to Move On, then went on to Avaz. People were, he's from Wisconsin. People were surprised when he decided to run for Wisconsin chair, because he hadn't been there in a while, and he just came in and he just hit it out of the park.
I mean, the headwinds that he was facing, like, the proof is in the pudding. If the Democrats are serious about winning, and we know that's a uphill climb, but the Wisconsin, after Obama was elected in 2008, became the laboratory for right-wing politics, almost in what we're seeing in Florida right now, where it's a different flavor, but they gerrymandered the hell out of that state. They led the way under Scott Walker with his Koch money on right to work and busting unions. And they rigged the game in such a way that Republicans had a significant advantage in the state of Wisconsin. And within 12 years, they've really turned that around. As he mentioned in his ad, Harris performed best of all of the swing states, which she lost all of them, in Wisconsin. And I think that he can make that case. This is the kind of pick that would be rational if the DNC chooses to be rational, but they did just pick Jamie Harrison, who's, retweeting Mueller, she wrote, and things like that. I mean, so if they really want to say we've learned a lesson, this is the kind of pick that you go with. I mean, Martin O'Malley, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what leverage he thinks he has, but
he's been the chair. He's been the running the Social Security Administration, which is, great.
Great.
I'm all in favor of that. People know I love, but
none of those.
What Wickler has been doing has been exactly what you want somebody to do on a national level. He has been facing a well-financed Republican movement, and he has dealt with gerrymandering. He has dealt with Supreme Court races. He understands the importance of all these things and how they translate to nationally. And he's done it in a state that has been, as sort of like teetering as can be over the past, I think 5-6 years that he's been working on it. It's benwickler.com. And Penny in New Mexico says, do you understand what donations would go to if we donate to Ben's campaign to DNC chair? I'm not 100% sure, but I suspect, look, you've got to reach 500 people. And I would imagine what you want to do is send out mailers. You want to call. You want to, maybe you want to travel and visit. This is all speculation on my part. You want to visit different key sort of like members of the DNC who may, have sway with 4, 5, or 6 or 10 other people. I don't know. This is all, I'm just guessing, but it's a good question. But I imagine it's something of that nature. And Noah from Tampa says, the best argument for Wickler is that Republicans are afraid of him. Always go with the people the Republicans are most afraid of. I mean, look, for me, the most important aspect is that he has a proven track record of winning in a rather inhospitable situation.
Exactly.
And so
and he, I think, would actually use the DNC to coordinate with state parties. Like, this has been an issue really since Obama. And Jamie Harrison, thank you, I think they started to donate more to state parties. But this needs to be a national strategy that is cohesive, because, out of this election, we understand the Democrats' message is incoherent. They're the party of people making over $100,000 a year, but they also have Sean Fain coming and speaking. What is the coalition you're trying to build? How can you make it so that it works nationally, where people know what the Democratic Party brand is? Because right now the brand is toxic, as Bernie Sanders told John Nichols in that interview, where he encouraged people to run as independents when it makes strategic sense. And I think that does make sense in rural white states right now. And then go from there. But, like that's the problem right now, is that there isn't necessarily a coordinated message or strategy. And like we know for all the stuff with Trumpism, their one thing is like it's immigration. And if you were to ask the average person what the Republicans or what the Democrats stand for, they don't know. Right now, maybe they'd say war, given what's been in the news. It's crazy.
And it has to be, like Wickler said, working people. Like, so every issue, make sure that you're addressing the working people afflicted by that issue and not, say, professional class people, because that's who's getting spoken for, and people are realizing that.
I really do think that, I mean, he, at the very least, he understands organizing. I mean, that's basically... He understands organizing, and he understands that you have to do it every day. And
whereas Jamie Harrison knew
you will never see Ben Wickler getting into a tweet war with. If you just go back and look at Wickler's tweets, honestly, they're most earnest, but also just so focused on driving some type of action. That's what he's out there doing. He's not putting out opinions. He's not covering his ass. He's not doing any of that. He's driving some action. Maybe it's, maybe it's a fundraiser. Maybe it's, getting people out to vote. Maybe it's just organizing around something. But you can see it in the way that he interacts with this stuff. Everything to this guy is a tool for one mission. And that's what I like about him.
And not to sit on your ass, Jamie Harrison basically did, because they got the great prize of South Carolina being the first primary state. That's what Biden delivered.
Jamie Harrison is a Podesta Group lobbyist. You can look at his clients online. It is like Bowie.
But he's not running now. I mean,
I know. I'm just saying what an improvement it will be to move on from that guy to like someone like Wickler, who actually has experience not talking to Walmart about what you need from our Democrats.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and Jamie Harrison is responsible for the situation we're in part because he got I'm speculating here, but Biden, he ran in South Carolina and lost, by the way. Ran in South Carolina. Biden got what he wanted to secure himself as the nominee by getting the South Carolina primary to be first, which caused issues with New Hampshire and Iowa, by the way, that got kind of buried. But he got what he basically wanted, and so it helped. It staved off calls for Biden not to run again. Like Jamie Harrison helped.
Was saying Kamala couldn't get on the ballot.
Was saying he was. That's exactly right, Matt. He was peddling that stupid ass conspiracy theory that Biden was sending out to all the press that there would be lawsuits by the Republicans to get her to make sure that she wasn't on the ballot. Turns out that wasn't true, but he was intimately involved with this, with making sure that Biden, as an 81-year-old, would be the nominee again, and is responsible for the situation that we're in as much as anybody.
Just Kofefe says Ken Martin is not a progressive. He supports Jacob Frey. Has consistently antagonized local level progressives and leftists in Minneapolis. He will abandon the recent DFL platform that was brought to us by statewide progressives and DSA endorsed state reps, Minneapolis, St. Paul council members. I mean, I don't know much about Ken Martin, and I wouldn't say, I wouldn't call, Wickler a DSA member, but at the end of the day, I definitely know that he's not hostile to the DSA. I don't think he, at the end of the day, sort of cares about that as much as the idea of organize and win. So if you look at the way that he perceives you win, that's where the value is. And there are instances, and I was trying to make this argument, and it's a nuanced, difficult argument to make the other day. If you look at, let's say, the people who ran Harris's campaign, I don't think that she, I think the Gaza thing was a big, big problem, but I don't think that her ideology lost the election as much as the competence of the people who were running that campaign. Their ideology is one which I think breeds a specific type of incompetence in the context of politics and other endeavors, frankly. Their notion of like what a normal person feels, their notion that we don't have an ideology. I'm completely not ideological, when in fact they do, they're just not conscious of it. Their ideology is born out of like a consultancy and corporate and corporations, where it is cover your ass, essentially, is like that's self-preservation is the primary function. And it's ideological in the sense that like if self-preservation is what's driving, is your fundamental sort of like basis. Motivator. It's ideological in the sense that that is sort of like a neoliberal perspective, right? I mean, this is we're like, by neoliberal, I'm also talking like Mont Pelerin. I'm talking about Hayek and those guys. Like, you know, self-interest is what makes society better. Everyone pursuing their own self-interest. And I'm not saying that people, you know, that folks like Pluff and, you know, Stephanie Cutter and them, you know, actually sort of like map this out, you know, philosophically. But that is the milieu that they come from. That is the waters they swim in. And it is that attitude that gives you just like from that's their pedigree and how they've been trained and how they view the world. I think just breeds an incredible amount of incompetence. And
why would it do anything else? Like,
and you know, to be clear, I don't know anything about Martin really, but I do know that Wickler, the vast majority of his experience as an adult, I mean, I just happen to know every job he's had, is dealing with members and groups that are dictating on some level, like, you know, the leadership is not so top down. It is not consultancy. He has been a part of every endeavor that he has pursued. If the organization succeeds, he succeeds.
And the proof is in the pudding in Wisconsin. Yeah. And like, just to make it clear, the Harris campaign, like, we'll know again once people start talking to authors, I think. But from the outside, it does appear like I'm not sure there has been a campaign more driven by consultants on a presidential level that I can remember. Because like given her lack of time in Washington and the set of circumstances, like she didn't have political capital or decades, and like Biden was the VP and Obama basically, you know, I had a unique, I think, set of circumstances for his election. But it's almost like that vacuum that Biden left allowed for all of these ghoulish consultants to rise to the top and craft the campaign that we've been told for years by these same people is the winning formula. And it failed. And when they go on Pod Save as a group, and then they say, you know, they're very careful to say that Harris is the one making the decisions, where I have some skepticism about that, given the circumstances that they were in. But they're going on as a group because they are right now trying to save their own ass, to make it so that like nothing needs to fundamentally change. We did everything right in this election. Hire us again. Don't look inward at this kind of campaign that was run. And you know, that's how you have to view every media appearance right now by the rest of these people.
All right, let's do this one last clip. 3A. Again, you know, this is, and then we'll do McConnell in the fun half. I don't know why one is more fun than the other. In fact, let's just go to the fun half, and then we'll do both the clips there.
Awesome.
Folks, I've just given you a teaser on what the fun half is going to be. Mitch McConnell whining about judges and Representative Rich McCormick, who's going to be talking about what's old is new again. And that is shared sacrifice. And you're going to hear this from the Doge people. You're going to hear, like, we've got to make some hard decisions.
Jason Calacanis, this venture capitalist who's sort of adjacent to all this Elon sort of stuff, was arguing vociferously for Silicon Valley Bank bailout a couple years ago is now telling everybody that, hey, look, we're all going to have to make sacrifices and come together for the good of the government.
Yeah. And understand, we'll talk about it in the fun half, but I just want to say this to the people who are going to be leaving us. When you hear shared sacrifice, your first question you should be like, let's just start with what sacrifice will you be making in this instance?
Right.
Because every single person who says the word shared sacrifice is saying that, or hard decision. What they are saying is, we've got to immiserate people who don't have as much money as me.
The truth is, I think,
that's it.
There's looks at like World War II, what happened. People will make shared sacrifice if they can notice that the sacrifice is actually being shared. For instance, like Orwell talks about, like, we're not seeing old ladies ride around in Rolls Royces and their poodles right now because everyone's going through it. And that, whereas like where you have a split between that, people aren't going to make that shared sacrifice because they realize the rich people are living it up.
I am telling you right now, there is not a single person in the country on any platform anywhere who uses the word shared sacrifice, saying that we're going to have to make shared sacrifice, who is going to make any type of sacrifice. In fact, I would go as far as that say that 95% of those people who say that are actually going to benefit from that shared sacrifice. They're not going to sacrifice. They're going to get a tribute. Folks, it's your support that makes the show possible. You can become a member at jointhemajority.report.com. When you do, you not only get the fun half, the free half, free of commercials, but you also get the fun half. And you're part of the shared sacrifice that we're all going through in that instance. Like, we've got to make the hard decisions. And you've got to make the hard decision for shared sacrifice to become a member, which of course benefits us.
Yeah.
Also, justcoffee.coop. No sacrifice need be made with justcoffee.coop. It's fair trade. It's and you can see
benefit.
That's shared benefit. You can see on the bottom of their bags of their coffee, you can see where it's from, how much the farmers in, whether it was in Chiapas or in Africa, got paid, how much it costs to roast, and then it's a co-op. So all the proceeds, and it's also less expensive, I think, than other coffees. I don't really buy other, coffee in a bag, but sometimes I'll go and look at the price of it and just be like, wait, what's going on here?
It's great coffee.
Emma, ESVN.
On ESPN on Monday, Bradley and I recapped Week 13 in the NFL. Basically, how I think there's 4 teams in the NFL that are really and truly competing for a Super Bowl. You can watch us there to find out which ones I'm referring to. YouTube.com/ESPN show. Matt, what's happening on Left Reckoning?
Yeah, Left Reckoning, we have Vivek Chibber on talking about, he's got a new podcast on Confronting Capitalism, is available on Jacobin Radio, so check that out. First episode is out today, but we had him on talking about his reaction to the election and where he sees capital across the two parties. Very interesting. Vivek's one of the best Marxist educators out there, so really honored to have him on last night. Patreon.com/Left Reckoning. The access to the post game where we talk about Joe Biden flashing Rashid Khalidi's 100 Years War on Palestine, and also talk about Tulsi Gabbard flashing JFK and the unspeakable.
Did you guys determine what you think that stunt was? Can you?
Inscrutable.
Okay. All right. Actually, people can listen to Left Reckoning to figure out what your take is.
I thought maybe like he just saw it on the newsstand and said, oh, that's about Palestine. Maybe. I don't know. It seems insulting though. But yeah, patreon.com/Left Reckoning.
It is so insulting.
Yep.
The only thing is that there is a chance, I think, that he is contemplating running again in 2028. And this time he's going to run on a platform where we need to help the Palestinians.
Or he's an anti-Zionist.
Yeah. What?
I think walking out with that book is psychopathic.
Yeah.
I mean, because even if he's doing it in earnest, like I'm going to take this home and read it, the idea that he would even show that to people is psychopathic.
It's crazy. Because like Rashid Khalidi taught with Obama in Chicago. Like that you would need that primer, which is a excellent book, but maybe the best introduction. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, but we talked about this when you were out, Sam, but Representative Roman came on, the Georgia state representative, who was saying that she was there with those meetings with Biden and that they showed him photos of kids with bullets in their brains. And he said, I've seen this all. I don't need to see anymore. So he's hand waving. And she said that it was a shocking experience to feel that dehumanization from a Democratic president in person. Like, I know that, I don't want to but Biden really is a morally vacuous human being. He cares about his family, and I'm supposed to think that like that's some sort of virtuous thing that I give a shit about in public life. Like, that's all I can glean, and that he's nice to the other people he worked with in the Senate. But he's a big brute. He's a bully. He's a brute and a bully, and whatever that stunt was, it's disgusting no matter which way you slice it. Because even if he was trying to educate himself, you've already helped commit genocide.
Do it in private. Like, don't use it as like, look at me. I'm reading into this.
Blue Trump. I mean that. Blue Trump, who also chose to hang on to power, and instead of going through a democratic process, is an 81-year-old gerontocratic freak who has now put us in this horrible situation. I have nothing but contempt for that man. Anyway.
Midwest fella. An hour later, they went to the fun house.
Yes. Yeah.
This is like...
And I have to go to the bathroom.
Here's the value of this. This is how I get you, as a free listener, to listen to all the sort of like plugs. Because this is like, when Saul saw extra little snippets of a movie in the credits, and now we got to watch the Easter eggs or whatever they are. We got to watch the whole credit sequence every time, because he's like, I think there's something coming. There's something coming.
That's a Marvel thing, though. Like,
is that what it is?
They do that on purpose.
They weren't the first to do it. I think they did that in like.
But now they do it with every movie.
Something about Mary or something
to preview
back in the day.
Next fucking stupid movie.
Fun half.
3 months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now. And I don't think it's going to be the same as it looks like in 6 months from now. And I don't know if it's necessarily going to be better 6 months from now than it is 3 months from now. But I think around 18 months out, we're going to look back and go like, wow. What? What is that going on? It's nuts. Wait a second. Hold on for a second.
The Majority Report.
Emma, welcome to the program.
Hey.
Matt.
What is up, everyone?
Nomiki.
You did it. Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
Bradley, you want to say hello?
Sorry to disappoint everyone. I'm just a random guy.
It's all the boys today.
Fundamentally false.
No, I'm sorry.
Stop talking for a second. Now let me finish.
Where is this coming from, dude?
But dude, you want to smoke this 7A?
Yes.